The Kent State Guardsmen Oral History Project began as a class assignment. In November 2019, I challenged my public history students to track down some of the guardsmen that had been at Kent State in May of 1970. There was a sense of urgency at some level with this project. The youngest guardsman that we have located is currently 69 years old because he had enlisted as a high school senior. But most of these guys are in their mid-70s to early 80s. Again, so there is some urgency to this project. As someone who was born 15 years after the Kent State shootings, I think I came into this project with a fairly basic understanding of May 4th and the Vietnam War era. Certainly when I started to look into the Kent State shootings, what really struck me was that I heard a lot about Nixon in Cambodia. I heard a lot from Kent State students, faculty members, protesters, and I heard a lot about, understandably, the 4 students who were shot and killed in this horrible event. But what I didn't hear and what I didn't see was interviews with members of the National Guard. And I've been wondering, like, where is that perspective? Is there a project here? And this really was the basis for the undertaking of this project. The mission of the project is to record and document the perspective of the National Guardsmen in the narrative and evolving memory of the Kent State shootings. The voice curiously absent in this tragic event is that of the Guardsmen, and this project hopes to remedy that void. The project does not necessarily have a hypothesis nor a political agenda. We merely want to record these oral histories from eyewitnesses to an historic event. Well, a handful of people, including my students, have asked why we are only interviewing former members of the National Guard for this project. And I think the answer is pretty simple. Students that were at Kent State, protesters that were at Kent State, faculty members at Kent, they've been interviewed already. Might have been a long time ago, but I think that's been done. But what hasn't been done, to the extent that we are doing this, are extensive interviews with former members of the National Guard. What do they remember? How were they treated after the fact? What are their memories of May 4th? How did they get to Kent? These questions are intentionally open-ended to allow these former guardsmen to tell their narratives.